everybody hear me? Mic check, mic check. So, my name is Tammar, right? You call me Tammar. I was afforded the opportunity to come up here and share a little something with y'all at this event. Honestly, I recently became familiar with Black August month, right? Literally like 2 days ago. And so when I started researching what Black August month was, I realized that the history that was contained within the month, I was very well acquainted with it. As Jamaica stated, me personally, I have just been released from a lengthy prison stint. I did about 21 years, right?
Welcome home.
Yeah, thank you. And so when I began to read and learn about what Black August month was, it was like all the more impactful. And plus, it doesn't hurt that Black August month is in my birthday month, right? Which is the best month, right? Hashtag Leo season. But so what I basically want to speak about as far as Black August History Month is the significance of history, right? History and resistance. So for me, history isn't something that is static that you read in a book that has already happened, right? History is very relevant. History is dynamic. History is alive, right? If you look at resistance and the history of resistance, whether it was incarcerated individuals or just regular, average, everyday individuals, right? There were lessons that they learned from previous troops, from previous examples. So what I want to talk about is not only what resistance looked like in the past, but what does resistance look like now, right? Because history is dynamic. History is alive, right? So if history is alive and dynamic, what does resistance look like now, right? And what are we resisting? So for me, my name is Tammar. That's my given name. That name is on my birth certificate, right? I'm a black male. I have dreadlocks, right? My spirituality isn't necessarily the traditional everyday, Christian background or Islamic background, but the point that I'm trying to make is that my identity, my very identity, is the result of resistance, right? Is the result of people fighting, pushing back boundaries that were placed on us, rigid boundaries of what is acceptable, right? What is acceptable? So, if we're talking about history, right? The reason why I keep emphasizing history is because history is basically the shield that protects you if you're aware of it. First thing they do when you want to get on an economic level, what's the first thing they do when you're trying to get a loan? They want to run the history of your credit, right? They want to run a history of your credit. When you go to the doctors on a biological or medical scenario, they want to know what's your medical history, right? So history, when I say history is alive and dynamic, this is how I want us to begin to look at history and how it applies in like the most nuanced sense of your life, right? When I talk about resistance, resistance is done both consciously and unconsciously, right? I'm not named after a white guy, right? I'm not named after a white guy. A lot of my little cousins, a lot of my nieces and nephews, they're not named after white men, right? Or white women. That is a form of resistance. Some do it consciously, some do it unconsciously, right? But it's a form of resistance. When you sit back and you see, and it takes to get the ball rolling, to get the momentum moving, it does take a seed of consciousness right? So you can take any significant historical figure, Martin Luther King, right? His strategy, the Montgomery boycott. He borrowed that strategy from Gandhi. He looked back, he looked at the history, and he's saying, yo, I like this, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna apply it. But that tactic of resistance isn't what I want you to totally focus on. I want you to focus on, because that Montgomery bus boycott lasted over a year. It didn't happen overnight, it lasted over a year. So what sustained it? The people who implemented that strategy, what kind of consciousness did they possess that helped them sustain, like the pregnant woman who's carrying a burden, whose feet are swollen, walking in the hot sun. The bus is right there. All she got to do is hop on the bus. She doesn't decide to hop on the bus though. She rides it out. What level of consciousness, what degree of consciousness allow her to do that, right? So this is what I want us to begin to pay attention when we say we're resisting, right? There's many different ways you can resist. You can protest in the street, you can boycott, you can educate yourself, educate others, right? Many different ways that you can resist. Resistance has no one way that it looks. It has no one uniform, right? We all here, we all look different. I'm sure we all come from different backgrounds, but the common cause, right? What I'm trying to emphasize is history is right now. History is being made right now, right? And it's up to each individual that's here. I charge you with not just coming to this event today and saying, oh, it was a good event, it was but I charge you with like actually trying to add on the history in a significant way. Whatever the goal is, we got all of us, we all know what all of us do, the work they put in, right? You know the work they put in. They like the stormtroopers. So, Jamaica puts work in, so I'm honored to be here. Even though it wasn't, it was a last minute thing, they slid me in, but I'm honored to be here to speak to the people as the people. But that's what I charge the people with, because we're the people, right? Nothing don't happen unless we make it happen. So I charge the individuals here with, yo, man, just simply, even if it's just sharing something that you learned today, right? That's what I charge the people with, man. And Jamaica, hopefully, in future events, we can come together, because I actually want to strategize and plan. I'm not too much into the symbolism, you know what I mean? I don't, certain things are good, marching and all that, but I'm actually into being efficient and effective. I want to be able to measure. If I set a goal, I want to be able to measure how effective were we at achieving that goal, right? So the speeches are good, the marches are good, but that's not really my lane, but that's what I'm into. So I appreciate y'all for allowing me the moment to speak up here. This event, Black August, now that I know what it is, best birthday month in a year. And peace, I appreciate y'all.